What's up, my brothers and my sisters from another mister? Today we're going to do a comic book review of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin, The Lost Years, issue number 2. This is Michelangelo's quest for vengeance. He's mastering new skills with his dead brothers by his side. Brought to you by RatedComics. Let's get to it. We begin this issue in Town 38. It's a unified Korean republic. That was back then. He confronted an enemy. That was Michelangelo getting thrown out the window in this all-out brawl at a bar. But this is a story so far before we continue on with it. Having lost his father and brothers in the war with the Foot Clan, a defeated Michelangelo isolated himself away in the mountains of Japan. But the grieving hero's solace was interrupted when a warlord known as Deathworm wrought chaos in a quiet countryside, forcing the ninja to flee. But trouble seems to have found him again. Now, Casey Marie Jones struggled with the challenges of raising a new generation of turtles, Yi, Odin, Moja, and Uno, as successors to the Hamato's brothers' ninja heritage. And that's where we go into the now, where we see Odin has dropped a glass of water, and all of his other turtles, Yi, Moja, Uno, are like, no, we're not helping you clean up. That's your own mess. You dropped it again? I can't believe you did that. These turtles are not unified and brought together like the old Ninja Turtles were. And Casey Marie Jones is watching as April Wilterding comes up from behind her like, hey, what are you doing? I'm watching the kids clean the dojo. Odin broke the glass, and even April's like, he broke it again? Yeah, he broke it again. So as they're still struggling to help him, and they're not going to help Odin clean that glass, and Odin gets pissed and frustrated about it, Casey Marie Jones goes up in there and gets the Ninja Turtles together. The Ninja Turtles are the future and wants to tell them a story. So she gets them all together, tells them a story. Listen up, this is what Grammy April told me once about my dad and the Ninja Turtles. Back then, Master Splinter had sent them all on an important mission to stop the Foot Clan from stealing some stuff that didn't belong to them. Like always, Leonardo was in charge, and just when he was going to give the order to grab the bad guys, my dad saw something else happening. An elderly lady was about to get mugged by the Foot Clan, and he really got mad and he wanted to help her out. Now at first, the Turtles didn't want to go with my dad because they were supposed to be stopping the Foot Clan like Master Splinter said. But my dad didn't listen. He went and helped the old lady anyway. And even though the Turtles knew this would mess up the mission, they helped her dad stop the other mean guys and save the poor old lady. Why did they do that? Because it was the right thing to do. The moral of the story is this as she relays it to the Turtles. I think about that story and the time I helped Grammy stop the city from flooding when I really wanted to do was help Sensei fight the Foot. It's just sometimes we get so caught up in what we think we're supposed to do or what we want to be doing that we ignore what we should be doing. And that's a reference to the TMNT Last Ronin storyline, which we did cover on this channel. I'll put the playlist in the description if you wish to catch up on that. And what we should be doing is helping out one of our own teammates when they're in trouble. And then Yi is like, wow, Grandpa Casey and the Turtles are so cool. Don't you miss them? Oh, I miss them so much, says April. But it's just like they're still here because they are the future. And we see Master Splinter's journal talks about Master Yip, talks about purpose. Purpose seeks, purpose chooses, always Master Yip. And then we go into them with Michelangelo going out in this all-out brawl back in Korea. And he's like, yo, man, this is not good. And as bad as his Korean is, it's not too hard to figure out what's going on between all these people as he's doing all this fighting in public. And his assumption is it's kill the monster. And he totally exposed himself, and he only got himself to blame. Weeks of hiding in plain sight, in this done without any issues. Now he blew his cover in a petty barroom brawl. Stupid Mike, real stupid. And he just calls himself that, but guess what? He has to fight this guy for a reason. But before we go into that, we go into a further flashback of how he got here. It's been nearly 3 years since the dying old man in that burning village in Hokkaido told him to run away from the psychopath called Deathworm and his army of thugs. 3 years since the ghost of his brother suddenly showed up and showed out of nowhere telling him the same thing. Hey, Chucklehead, you gonna sit there, you gonna do something, says Raphael. And Michael's like, yeah, I know. Maybe he just took too many knocks in the skull or too many hits in the head. That's why he's thinking he's crazy. Or whatever it is, insanity or a concussion. I wasn't stupid, says Michelangelo. I wasn't stupid enough to believe I was in any shape to take on another fight right then, right now. So with no real plan other than getting the hell out of Dodge, Michelangelo headed south toward the Japanese mainland with only one thought helping him to ease his guilt for running away, and that is to live to fight another day. So little did he know, another day would turn into days and months and then years of running away, foraging mushrooms and wild plants to survive. His brother Donatello told him what was poisonous and what was safe to eat. He called it sensei, the ancient practice of wild plant picking. Or maybe Michelangelo just knew what to pick and what to eat after years he spent surviving in the mountains. The constant jabbering of his dead companions was making it hard to separate past from present, reality from delusion, and whether it was crazy or he was concussed, it didn't seem like they were going to be in a hurry to go away, and as lonely as he wasn't in any hurry to let them go. So eventually he made it to the southern edge of Hokkaido. Behind him, there were 3 years of isolation, piles of dead bodies, and a psycho and his thug army most likely after his head. Ahead of Michelangelo was the Sea of Japan, and beyond that, the mainland, and beyond that, a dark reckoning. So without looking back, he just started swimming. And once he got into the mainland, he continued using the western coastline as his compass. He slept during the day and hiked at night to keep a low profile. And as long and slow trek as he still wasn't exactly sure where he was going, his brothers were just nagging him constantly like, yo man, where we going, chucklehead? He was too tired to argue back with them. And by the time he reached the Monument of Remembrance in Akita, they finally had enough. Oh, another day of stinking pointless walking, says Raphael. There's been no sign of Deathworm or his goons since we left Hokkaido. Either we lost them or they don't care about us anymore. So if we're not running from them, then what are we doing exactly, Mike? And that pisses Mike off. We? What are we doing? We aren't doing anything, Leo. I'm getting ready to head further south as soon as the sun's all the way down. You three are dead. And Raphael's like, so what's that got to do with hiking your story about all the way down to Japan like a chicken with his head cut off? It's got everything to do with everything, Raphael. I'm here because you couldn't keep your sai in your pants when Karai ambushed us back when. And that was back in Last Ronin issue number 2. I'm here because you started a war and killed everyone I cared about. Everyone that ever mattered to me, including you stupid jerk. And Raphael gets pissed like, yeah, well maybe I did make a mistake after that ambush. And Donatello's like, man, too late for maybes, Ralph. Whatever, Don. And maybe that mistake started things rolling downhill for us, but we all knew it was coming one way or another. Us against the Foot Clan, just like Master Splinter always said. It was eventually going to be last man standing no matter what, or last mutant standing, says Leonardo. You're right, Mikey. We're dead, but you're not, and neither is. And before he can finish his sentence, Michelangelo finishes it for him. Hiroto. Yeah, he's the last of his family. He's Master Shredder's son, and you're the last of ours. You're Master Splinter's son, which means you're the only one of us left who could finish what Ralph started when he went after Karai. Hey, come on, guys. Give me a break about Karai, says Raphael. She broke the stinking truth. That's why I did what I did. And Michelangelo's like, we all know this started way before your fight with Karai, way before the truce, way before any of us were even born. This started with Father and Shredder, and it ends with Hiroto and me, says Michelangelo. So what are you saying, says Ralph. And Michelangelo's like, I'm saying I know where I'm going now. Maybe deep down I always knew, and it's time to go to New York City to stand and fight. Now you're talking, says Raphael. Am I? Because it's getting hard to tell with all this going on. And that's a joke because Raphael still don't know if he's going crazy talking to the brothers or if it's just a figment of his imagination. But yeah, I like that joke right there. So they finally had a plan for vengeance. Vengeance for his family awaited him in New York City in the form of Oroku Hiroto. He's the current master of the Foot Clan, grandson of Master Shredder, son to Oroku Karai. As for his brothers, it was business as usual. Talk, Ralph moaning about the long hike and all this other stuff. So, yeah, but Donatello was complaining that maybe you should take the train. Leonardo was saying maybe you should go for a swim. But eventually, Michelangelo hopped southbound on a train near the Omono River. And the next stop was to Sakaminatu. And once he made it to the port city, he covertly watched as passengers boarded the cruise ferry bound for Russia via Korea. And when the time was right, he boarded it too. After nearly a year of sleeping only in the daytime, he was wide awake all night long, and he figured he'd head to the main deck to get some peace and quiet before the other passengers woke up, but he should have known better. These two goons take off his beanie, like, look at that green freak. Ooh, we should take that green freak back to our freaking boss. How many green freaks do you think are on here? And they got the death worm tattoo on their chest. And this bald guy with the ponytail tattoo is like, boss will love the gift we're gonna give him right now. Yeah, he might even give us a promotion, says the guys in the baseball cap. Now, the tattoo of the drunk idiot's chest wasn't just a handy bullseye for Michelangelo, it let him know who their boss was. Death worm. So he thought he put the mess of Hokkaido behind him, but guess what? He already made plans to make a watery detour before the boat got to Korea, so there was no point in delaying the inevitable any longer. But after laying down the smackdown and stomping on some cockroaches, if you will, he wasn't about to wait around to find out if there were any more of these death worm gooms on the ship. So much for peace, he went for a swim. Now, the swim to Chiburajima Island was way harder than Michelangelo's thought. It was a miracle that he didn't drown. And he doesn't even remember the last part because he was exhausted and delirious. But he'll never forget the first thing he saw when he came to the island. The famous, infamous Master Yip that Sensei Master Splinter talked about. And because he was so delirious and exhausted, he just passes out from the swim. So Michelangelo wakes up in Master Yip's hut. Master Yip gives him some soup, Michelangelo eats, and they exchange some conversations. So Michelangelo trips out because, no offense, you're Japanese, but you're speaking Chinese to me. And Master Yip's like, yes, a Chinese man, I am that. And you are a turtle man. Clan Hamato is a wonderfully diverse, isn't it? Is it not? I will be outside when you're ready, Michelangelo, to begin your training. We've got much to do, and you need to rest and, catch up and rest up before we get all trained up, all right? So Michelangelo's like, how do you know so much about me, my swim, my journey, and why I'm here? And Master Yip tells him, well, you've been in and out of consciousness for nearly 2 days, young friend, mumbling and moaning what you're doing. So that's how I learned what you called and what you seek. So finish your soup and we'll begin training. And Master Yip's like, what does one call soup for a turtle? And the dog barks. Oh, I see. Turtle soup. And Michelangelo's like, man, it wasn't just the last bad joke I heard from old master. So what came next was no joke. After a few days of soup and rest, he finally had the strength to step out the hut and begin his training, where the old master and his furry Chunin, the dog, were waiting to put him to work. And the first assignment is this cloth and this bucket of water. So Jito, the way of cleaning. The tradition of students clean the dojo together, it was a sign of respect and a way of giving thanks to your sensei. And it was one way to get familiar with tradition. And the turtles, his brothers, are like, yo man, when you said you're gonna wipe the Foot Clan out of existence, we didn't have no picture in mind of you wiping the floor. And Donatello has a really cool Karate Kid reference, like, yo, you missed a spot, Daniel-san. Whatever, shut up, this pisses off Michelangelo. Turns out the cleaning was just getting started. Master Yip also wanted to cleanse the habit of old habits from Michelangelo, which meant weapons weren't part of the early training. They started with the basic form of Wing Chun, which is called Si Yim Tao. As training continued, they used their moments to practice the flow, to learn how things work, practice breathing, practice task at hand. And as their training continued, Michelangelo began to question the softness of the forms. Master Yip explained that the hand-to-hand techniques they constantly practiced held many of the same benefits of Sojito, the cleaning, and he got decked in the face as a way of questioning him for that. And Michelangelo learned never to question his techniques again. Eventually, they moved to weapons training. Days turned into months. Training became routine, but never mundane. The lessons he learned daily had Michelangelo yearning for more, and he grew to understand why his father, Master Splinter, had written so highly of Master Yip in his journal, because he really was an elite sensei. Now, he even taught him a thing or two about bad puns, and they're funny puns. Like, so one of the puns Master Yip tells him was, what did the Buddha say to the hot dog vendor? Make me one with everything. So, it's a pun so bad, it's almost a dad joke mixed with TMNT style. So for more than a year and a half, he was busy but never alone, because his brothers were there doing his training as well. Even though they weren't participating in his training, they were watching him, encouraging him, and probably giving him some smack for it. And then when his training was complete, it was time for him to head west to New York City and redemption. But Master Yip threw one last curveball before Michelangelo left. And Master Yip told him, I listened to all your stories when you arrived, and I shut up when you spoke, Michelangelo, but now you need to listen to me. When your father came to train with me, he too held a burning desire for revenge against the enemies of your family. And like you, he had made it his life's purpose to see through his quest for vengeance. And even more so than your father has been victorious in this, and now the time to seek justice for those have lost has come, I will not try to deny you of your quest, but I will present you a question before you depart, Michelangelo. Can you honorably rush to face one enemy when you fearfully retreat from another? And Michelangelo knew what he was talking about. Deathworm. Yes, Deathworm. You must confront Deathworm before you confront, he wrote to. And in his heart, he knew this. So he rode away on his boat. The words burned inside of his brain. It was more like a challenge than a question. To take down Deathworm first, then go after Hiroku. He can't pass go and collect $200 like you do with Monopoly. Deathworm must be dealt with. It was nighttime when he finally reached Donahue in South Korea. He learned some important things over the next few days. First, it was as cold as a mother, and he stuck out like a sore thumb, which meant he desperately needed new clothes. He hated stealing, but he didn't want to get spotted, and he sure as hell didn't want to freeze to death. Second, from what he could figure out from the newspaper, there's been a massive earthquake in China while he was holed up in Hokkaido, and it was a 9.6 magnitude earthquake. That is massive. The destruction took out a lot of China's nuclear facilities, turning most of the country into irradiated wasteland. The Chinese government pretty much collapsed overnight, and any control they had over their nation was lost, starting with North Korea. Unification with South Korea quickly followed. But maybe the most important thing he learned was the Deathworm's thug army had been causing all kinds of problems up and down the newly united country over the last year. According to the papers, he was last seen in the former DMZ. And the brothers are hitting the truck with them on that journey, but they're still giving him more stuff about the earthquake. So that's where he headed, Town 38. Town 38 was named after the 38th parallel, and it seems stuck in schizophrenic limbo, somewhere between its Cold War past and the unified present. It was like a well-lit slum, shiny and new, old and filthy all at once, and we see these cops beating up the civilian and taking his money, and it was going to be hard for Michelangelo to locate Deathworm because there was so much corruption going on, which meant finding Deathworm was not going to be hard. It was going to be damn near impossible. Either nobody knew where he was, or they weren't about to tell him anything. And he searched high and low for Deathworm, but nothing. He slept in alleyways and ate from dumpsters, and after weeks of failure, he had enough. Deathworm was more of a ghost than his brothers, and if he didn't get some real food in him, he was going to be a ghost too. So Michelangelo sold his warrior soul, his nunchucks, for a few bucks just to get a hot meal and a place where he could sit and think about what the hell he was going to do next. So he goes to this Korean bar, and that's where the people behind him are at. So his brothers remind him of his oath. To beat Deathworm before you go after Oroku, he wrote to, "You're honor blind, Mike." "I disagree, Leo," says Donatello. Mikey did not take an official pledge. It seemed more like Master Yip's suggestion. And then Raphael's like, "Well, I suggest you pick one of them for a beatdown, then we get to it. Start shaking some cages around here." And Michelangelo's like, "Ralph, shh, be quiet." But when Michelangelo turns around, he notices that that guy's arm is Deathworm. That was the guy he must be confronted because he knows it's in his heart, and that was the guy on the ship. So Michelangelo confronts him like, "Nice tattoo. Where'd you get it from? Who's Deathworm?" And the guy's like, "Who's asking? You ain't gonna find no Deathworm around here." And Michelangelo removes his mask, and this guy knows it's you from the cruise ship. And Michelangelo takes him down. He plows him down. This brawl fight takes over. And he had to keep it quiet, but with that gunshot right there, ain't no way he's gonna keep it quiet. Now, so much for the quiet time. But he still needs his answers. Glass bottles are breaking, and if this punk doesn't want to help Michelangelo in any way or make it easy for him, then there's a hard way that Master Yip taught him that'll work just fine. So he puts him in submission. Michelangelo tells him, "Okay, pal, either you give me some intel or I take out your eyes. Where's Deathworm?" And he puts the shard right close to his eyes. "Mongolia." Good boy. And that's it, and he drops the smoke bomb. grab your car, borrow an old wreck, he makes an escape, and it's time to head to Mongolia. So Leonardo's like, okay, so we're gonna head to Mongolia without a plan? And Michelangelo's like, no, but there is a plan. Find Deathworm, take him down, then go after he wrote to. You said it yourself, Leo. I took an oath with Master Yip. I'm honor bound, on his way to Mongolia to find Deathworm. And then Raphael's like, yeah, Leo, stop complaining. That dumpster diving life was too old, man. So they argue back and forth if he really took an oath or not. But one thing they all can agree on is Michelangelo's driving sucks. And that is the end of this issue. I absolutely love the journey of Michelangelo going from just a goofy guy that I still love as a Ninja Turtle to a little bit hardened but more skilled, and the trials and tribulations he went through. This is a classic in my opinion. Link in description if you wish to add this comic book to your comic book collection. Support the art, support the industry. Also, don't forget to check out RatedComics.com for some really cool Rated Comics exclusives and or some of our other comics that we offer too. Lastly, this review is sponsored by coffee, so link in description or donate to the super thanks. But the greatest compliment you guys can do is by liking this video and subscribing to Rated Comics YouTube channel. Thank you again for watching. Until next time.